It's even funny, even like even just to give you an idea of how framing works. Like even look at the CBC article. Like look at the photo they used for her.
Uh, uh, without us talking about that, that's the first thing I noticed before we went live. I thought, could they have picked a worse picture? Why? Because, I mean, I've seen CBC articles about, 150 other things in the last, 2 weeks. They have free range to pick whatever picture they want.
Yep.
That is part of the message they're trying to send.
Well, it's even something I realized what CNN would do with Donald Trump is they would intentionally change coloring of the photos just enough to make him look more orange. Stuff they do stuff like that, man, just to get their story across and tell their point and what agenda they want to drive home. So with this, it'll make the miserable CEO look super intimidating, look like she hates life and hates you.
It should make you question media. And it's interesting you brought up Donald Trump, and this is a little bit of a segue, and then we can end it. But it is interesting that within the first month of Donald Trump's presidency, media outlets, along with other members of Congress, were questioning his mental state. It's taken media 18 months to do that with Joe Biden, who's been caught asleep during speeches, who's wandered across lawns and had to have the Easter Bunny move him back into where he was supposed to go. He's been seen shaking hands with nobody. Yeah. It's true. Yes. These things really happened.
I know.
And the media, it's taken them 18 months to even start speaking roughly about his mental state. But within the first month of Donald Trump, they were. It makes you think about, why did it take them so long? Just makes you think. I think there's something, there has to be something deeper there that I encourage everyone to reflect on.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
I was, makes me think back to the conversation I was having the other night with my liberal friends. We were talking about in general is kind of how we've talked about in the show before. I kind of see life like pre-2016 versus post-2016.
Right.
And the one thing I did mention, I was like, the one thing I definitely will credit Trump for is like making me more aware of what the media was doing.
Yeah.
The whole fake news thing, like that was, I didn't know anything about that until he came along. Because growing up, we've talked about this, like you just kind of see Fox News as bad and CNN good, MSNBC good. And then the more you start looking into it, it's just, they were just less egregious than say Fox News was, but they were just as bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, they were maybe a little bit more like news focused, like in earlier years, but they were still had a lean.
Yeah.
But in recent years, like they got even worse than Fox News.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I learned. And so when I was making the statement, there's nothing. And I say nothing that's redeemable about Donald Trump. And I was like, oh my gosh. I love you guys, but come on. Like, there's not like, I know you hate him to his like bare soul, but there isn't like one thing you can say like, that was good. Then that for me is the issue with our politics in general. Like even for me, okay, I guess I'll shift the lens onto myself. Can I say anything positive about about Justin Trudeau? He is, say, this is kind of more of a backhand compliment, but he is really good at crafting stories and changing narratives. And like he's a really crafty person. I will give him that. But like in general, just as like a human being, there's just not much I can actually give him credit for. So maybe there's something to say about that. However, everything that was painted and thrown on Donald Trump, like Justin Trudeau has done all of those things and then more. And that's the thing that I guess where I get frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Donald Trump was a blowhard and, he just said a lot of dumb things. But like, that was why I kind of liked him, was because he said all the dumb things and like all the things you were supposed to stay quiet about, he said out loud.
He said everything.
Exactly. So you knew how to nitty what was kind of going on.
Where Justin Trudeau is very selective.
Yeah.
And a good storyteller. So that makes it even trickier to decipher, which is, I think, not a good thing. I would prefer a straight shooter. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but if you could all like, comment, and subscribe, it truly helps us out in the long run. We look at all the comments and the feedback, and it means the world to us. Thanks for watching. Yeah, man, it's an interesting climate, I would say. With things like this where the court of public opinion is superseding that of the law. When you have media who is only exacerbating the effects that, a story like this already has on a person and then, tripling it. It's an interesting time to have something go wrong in the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep in mind how the media will frame things. We are at war, and people tell me all the time, Josh, you are exaggerating. We're not in a cold civil war. Stop saying those things. I'm sorry, but
it's better to be prepared.
Yeah, but as well, I'm like, just look how like nasty people gotten over politics. Like, just like you have to actually think about physically worrying about your safety when it comes to talking about these things.
Yes. You bring up another good point there, which is like how people will say, don't say that, you're fear-mongering, you're spreading fear. There's a TikToker who lives in Ontario who speaks about how homeownership is basically the biggest scam, and especially right now with interest hikes and how if there's any more increases, like, a lot of Canadians are screwed, and people will comment and they're like, stop spreading fear, stop fear mongering, and he video duets them all and is like, the only people that would have this sort of response are two sorts of people, and it's someone who just simply is too ignorant to care or just wants to pretend it's not happening, or they're realtors, home builders, or mortgage advisors who want people to continue buying homes. So learn if the person you're talking to has a vested interest in the thing you're talking about, or if they're just too stunned to care.
Totally.
Avoid both if you can.